to the depth dive. Today, we're getting into a source that takes a hard look at the 2012 film The Sweeney. And our mission here, it's not just, a film review. We want to use this specific reboot as a case study. It tackles a huge question in the industry. Can you actually take classic, gritty, beloved material and, well, update it successfully? Or does chasing profit just dull that edge?
Yeah, and our source material, it doesn't waste any time. It calls out the film industry straight away for, constantly recycling ideas. The drill major studios looking for the safe bet, endless sequels, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s, reboots, reimaginings. And the result, according to this review, often just a samey and dull experience for you watching at home.
Exactly. And if you're banking on nostalgia, you really pick a tough battle when you decide to revive something like the original Sweeney. This wasn't just another cop show. When you touch a seminal, beloved drama, the stakes, the fan expectations, they're just sky high. So the film, right from the start, it risked this huge backlash. It really had to nail the execution to avoid that. Absolutely. And to really get why that risk was so big, you need to understand the original show's legacy.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit.
Yeah.
Why was the 70s TV show such a massive deal for British drama?
Right. So, for context, before the Sweeney came along, British police shows, they were pretty straightforward, morally, I mean.
Yeah.
You had the good guys, you had the bad guys. Cops were always shown as the good guys. No shades of gray. Just cops versus villains. Simple. The Sweeney just blew that whole idea apart. It focused on the flying squad, the Met Unit, dealing with serious crime, often violent stuff. And it showed these officers, Regan and Carter, as being, as rough and ready as the people they were pursuing. These guys weren't saints. They cut corners, bent the rules. They operated right on the edge. And that, for you listening, that's the direct line to pretty much every gritty, morally complex drama we love today. Think about all those anti-heroes, those flawed characters on TV now, that kind of gritty realism, that moral ambiguity. It really started with the original Sweeney. It changed everything.
Okay, so let's shift gears to the reboot itself. Expectations were high, like you said. And looking at the talent they pulled together for the 2012 film, well, it looked really promising on paper.
It really did. The names involved suggested they knew they needed that gritty core. Nick Love directed it. And he had a decent reputation for making solid, gritty British thrillers. So, a solid choice.
But the name that really screamed, we want that cynical, raw heart, was the screenwriter, John Hodge. This is the guy behind those early Danny Boyle classics, films that defined a generation. Train Spotting, Shallow Grave, A Life Less Ordinary. Getting Hodge suggests you're aiming for real depth, not just, explosions. That's exactly it. That kind of writing talent, it sets a very high bar. And then look at the cast. Ray Winstone as Regan. Perfect casting, right? Ben Drew, Plan B as Carter, Haley Atwell as Nancy, Damian Lewis as Haskins. Seriously, on paper, that team looked like they could absolutely handle the nuance, the complexity.
And the film definitely kicks off with that high-energy vibe. It throws you straight into this London warehouse robbery. The flying squad bursts in, classic Sweeney style, using a JCB excavator to smash through a wall, a digger. It's a really fast way to introduce the main players, Carter, Nancy, Regan, basically doing what they do, causing chaos to catch crooks. Okay, but here's where, for me, it gets really interesting based on the review. The conflict isn't just about the crime, it's internal. Right away, the squad is under investigation by internal affairs, specifically looking into their, let's say, unconventional methods.
And it's not just some faceless investigation. It's personal. The guy leading it, Ivan Lewis, he hates Regan, properly hates him. And the twist, Lewis is married to Nancy, who is secretly having an affair with Regan. So you've got this messy mix, policing, office politics, betrayal, passion. It's all tangled up.
Yeah, it sets up potential disaster, doesn't it? Their boss, Haskins, basically tells Regan, cool it, or IA will destroy us all. But then, boom, a new case lands, a jewelry shop robbery turns into an execution, and the review points out the way the safe was cracked, it's a method Regan knows. It pulls them into something tied to their past.
You see how the plot's working there? Using all those familiar elements, the flawed hero, IA breathing down their necks, the risky affair. It's all designed to create friction, tension. It's a classic setup for a really complex thriller.
But, and this is the big but in the review, this is where that style over substance critique really takes hold, visually. The film apparently nailed the update. Our source says present-day London looks amazing, all neon and silver glory. Very slick, very modern. And the action, apparently it delivers on that front too. The sequences are well done, exciting, they zip along at a brisk pace. The director uses locations inventively too, culminating in that huge shootout they staged right in Trafalgar Square. Pretty memorable stuff.
Right. But despite all that gloss, here's the core problem according to the source. The characters driving it all, Regan, Carter, Nancy, they're just not particularly complex and interesting. All that setup, all that potential depth, it kind of falls flat because the characters aren't developed enough. The issue, the source argues, traces back to the script. The dialogue, often a bit clunky, in the kind of where you feel like you know what they're going to say before they say it. Ray Winstone, yeah, he looks the part, but the performance is described as familiar, all scowling with an undercurrent of menace, like he wasn't pushed.
Which is fascinating, right? Because you hire John Hodge, you expect dialogue that forces an actor like Winstone out of his comfort zone. But it sounds like he just got to do his usual thing.
Pretty much. And while Ben Drew and Haley Atwell were apparently great, providing excellent support, they were underused, much to the detriment of the film. Such a waste of talent, really. So what you end up with is this really good-looking film, but it's kind of empty, emotionally speaking.
And that lack of real character depth, the very thing that made the original TV show so powerful, that's the killer blow here. The source basically concludes that because that depth is missing, when you get to the big moments, the high-stakes stuff, when you should be on the edge of your seat caring about them, you don't really care what happens to them. The action feels disconnected from any real feeling.
Yeah, and if you take a step back, look at the branding, the business side. The review is pretty blunt about it. It says the film has little in common with the original TV show, save its name and the central characters. Ouch. So the verdict essentially is that the name, the Sweeney, was just purely a marketing tool. Slap on a familiar title, get some extra publicity, pull in the nostalgic fans. The review argues the film could have been called anything at all. It just didn't capture the spirit, the soul of the thing it was supposedly based on.
That's a harsh verdict, but it sounds like an honest one based on their analysis. And interestingly, the source folded in some outside commentary too, some fan reactions. And they kind of echo this split. One person apparently called the script truly awful, harsh. But even they admitted the action was great, especially that Trafalgar Square shootout. But they said it happened far too early, leaving the rest of the film feeling like an anticlimax.
That's a really interesting point about structure. Even the good bits weren't quite landed right.
Right. There was one other interpretation mentioned, though. Someone suggested maybe the film was trying for depth, but subtly. That maybe it was about Regan struggling to come to terms with the fact that he's out of date with modern policing and society. It feels a bit like the audience trying to find the complexity the film didn't quite deliver, maybe projecting the original's themes onto it.
Could be, searching for something deeper.
So, okay, what's the takeaway here for you? We started this talking about studios recycling ideas, maybe prioritizing profit over originality. This deep dive into the Sweeney gives us a pretty stark example, doesn't it? Even with an amazing pedigree, top writer, solid director, great cast, if the focus shifts too much towards safe action and just using the name for marketing, instead of digging into that difficult, messy moral ambiguity that defined the original, well, the story just falls flat. It ends up damaging the very legacy it was trying to cash in on.
Which leaves us with a really interesting question for you to think about, I suppose. When you're adapting one of these beloved, gritty classics, something known for its complexity, its difficult characters, what's the bigger risk? Is it changing too much, maybe making it more mainstream and alienating the original fans? Or is it sticking closer visually but failing to capture that challenging, nuanced core, that moral complexity that made the original so important in the first place and maybe disappointing everyone? Where does that balance lie between profit and artistic integrity? Something to chew on.